Commission meeting, May 20th, 2022. Welcome to all of you. The first item of business today is to consider the minutes from our last meeting, April 7th, 2022. Commissioners, if you could take a look at those and give an indication of when you're either ready to vote or to make a suggested change.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I saw that there were some revised minutes that were set around today, and I haven't had a chance to look at it. Could somebody just show me where the changes were? I'd reviewed it before the revisions.
I'm the one that made the suggested changes. May I come around and just point?
Yeah.
Okay. Two sentences.
Oh, okay.
And then that was a misspelling.
Oh, okay.
And I added, she said motion for judgment.
Okay.
I added on the pleadings, and the case was dismissed with prejudice. And then I added this. This is somewhat a substantive change, because we didn't have any indication that the commission acted. I thought we did act.
Yeah, we did. Yep. Okay.
That might have been some grammar.
But also,
Yeah.
that was the substance.
The rest of them
Okay.
were grammatical kind of things.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that indulgence. I had a very busy day and didn't get to
Sure.
look at the changes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Are the other commissioners ready for a vote? Oh, wait, okay. Ready? Ready for a vote? Yeah. All right. As to the minutes from April 7, 2022, we have a motion to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is to consider certification of the results of the from the May 3rd, 2022 election. So with that, I would like to turn it over to the staff for a explanation of what we've received concerning certification.
While Mr. Medley is coming up, in your packet, there is a summary document of the certification results, but we do have for the chairman and the secretary the 425-page version that has it in detail that they will need to sign. We were trying to not kill as many trees if we didn't have to.
Commissioner Hertzfeld, let me pass one of these two, unless you already have it. You already have it? Okay.
This is just the
All right. Okay. All right. Mr. Medley?
Yes, sir.
Whenever you're ready.
Well, it's very rare. So we, in your packet will be the summary version and the precinct by precinct version. And so Kelly should have that in your packet. Those have been sent to the state. We audited for the last 10 days, and our final number is 50,979, with the Republicans voting 4,649 and the Democrats voting 46,330.
And those are the total number of votes cast?
Correct.
And just so everyone remembers, election night, we put out unofficial results. And then it takes us, depending on how big the election is, 10 to 40 days to then come up with the official results that you would certify.
Yes, recognize Commissioner Hertzfeld.
Thank you. So I want to, again, I think every time, I thank Courtney or whoever it is that puts together this chart that I love, that tells us every single provisional ballot and whether they were accepted or rejected ultimately and the reason why. And so when I'm looking through this list, it appears to me that kind of probably, I don't know if the most frequent, but a high frequency for this sheet was wrong precinct. Is that right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And I actually have to say, I mean, personally, I counted it up and it looks like we had 25 provisional ballots that were rejected for wrong precinct out of 50,979 voters. With the amount of redistricting and changing of locations we did, I actually expected that number to be much higher. So huge success. Big congrats and compliments to the staff for getting out there and getting the word out, and for our poll workers for making sure that people were adequately redirected to their new polling location. So 25 out of almost 51,000 voters. Hoorah, guys. Good job. Thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions?
Just a question. How many registered voters do we have in Davidson County?
481,000.
481. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? So are we ready to consider a motion?
I'll make a motion to certify the May 3rd, 2022 election.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Let me revisit our minutes, because I may not have asked for a second on the minutes that we just approved. We voted unanimously to approve them. I'm not sure that we did get a second? We got a
Mr.
second.
Chairman,
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. Then the next item on our agenda is to consider the poll officials for the August 4th, 2022 election. And we've got a stack of the poll officials. Mr. Roberts, can you explain to us and the public what we're doing here?
So before each election, the commission is required to approve the poll officials that we will use for each election. The commission can do that 90 days before the election. So they will be approving the poll officials for the August 4th election, and we ask the commission normally to approve all of our active poll officials. That way we can try to reach out to everyone and then go from there, because people are on vacation or, many things come up that They can't work that election, but we want them to be able to work, let's say, the November election. So we ask to approve all of our active poll officials.
I'll make a motion to approve the poll officials for the August election.
Are we ready for a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the poll officials for the August 4th election. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. That brings us to consideration of the early voting schedule and the locations for the August 4th election. Mr. Roberts, can you give us a presentation on that?
Included in your packet is our traditional flyer that we use to advertise early voting. To advertise early voting. I know you're excited about it, Kelly, I can tell. Included in that, you'll notice that we've added an additional day to what we might traditionally use for this type of election because the ballot is going to be so large. We're concerned about how long it will take people to vote in the booth. So we've added an additional day of early voting at all the locations.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Does anyone have any questions about the early voting schedule? Let me ask a question. This is essentially a traditional.
Traditionally, we would not have all of the locations open this number of days, but we've added one additional day for every location to be open because of how complicated the ballot's going to be.
All right, that's what you just told us. Okay.
Second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions before we call it for a vote? I take it no. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Then next, we need to establish a schedule for locking the provisional ballot boxes and the absentee ballot security bins. Essentially, those are security measures. If I could ask Mr. Roberts to explain exactly what we do and why we do it.
So each provisional bag that we send out to the precincts and the early voting sites and all of the absentee ballot boxes that we maintain in our office, they have both a Republican lock and a Democratic lock. They have a Republican numbered seal and a Democratic numbered seal that the commissioners will assist us in placing on each one of those. We then report those to the state as to, each one is numbered, and it's a very strict process to make sure that everyone feels about security very good here in Davidson County.
And that process is overseen by one of the Democrat commissioners and also by one of the Republican commissioners.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So we've got some suggested times and dates for that. Can you
Right. So
explain that to
in
us?
your packet here, some suggested dates to prepare for the August 4th would be May the 23rd, anytime from 7 a.m. to 3:30. May 24th, 7 a.m. to 3:30. Thursday, May 26th, and Friday, May 27th, 7 a.m. to 3:30. We're open to doing it on any of those days to fit your schedule because it is kind of a tough task to do.
So since Messrs. Starling and Evans are the ones that I think are going to be doing this, can we just ask them to consult their schedules?
Commissioner, I'm sort of tied up on Tuesday, the 24th, but I'm okay on Monday, Thursday, or Friday.
Mondays work great for me.
this coming Monday, right? 23rd will be this coming Monday? Yes. Yeah, no, that's great. What time? It's,
Early? Early?
oh, sure.
Huh?
Yeah,
Do 8?
8's fine. 8 works.
Okay. All right. So it appears that the optimum scheduling is Monday, May 23rd at 8 o'clock. With that, can we have a motion
I'll make the motion.
and a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to set the schedule for the locking of provisional ballot security bags and boxes and the absentee ballot security bins for May 23rd at 8 o'clock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Next, we are being asked to set the date and time for the absentee counting board for the August 24th, 2022 election. If you could, Mr. Roberts, can you explain about the absentee counting board?
So this will convene on Election Day. We're proposing at 8 a.m. It would include teams of Republicans and Democrats, and they will actually be preparing the absentee ballots, taking them out of the bins, out of the envelopes, and then preparing them to go through the scanner. So this is a very important task that will require training ahead of time, and we invite each of you to come. Some of you have actually helped us open envelopes in the past, so you know what it's all about. It's a very important task, and people want to feel good that it's, from a security standpoint, we are dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's on absentee ballots.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right, so we've got a motion and a second to schedule the time and date for the absentee counting board for the August 4th election as 8 o'clock on August 4th. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Item 7 on the agenda is to set the time and date for the Provisional Counting Board for the August 4th election. Mr. Roberts, could you similarly give us an explanation about the Provisional Counting Board?
So the Provisional Counting Board, they actually count, like the absentee counting board, they count the provisional ballots. A provisional ballot is that safety net for the voter. If for some reason we do not have them in our poll book as a registered voter, they can vote provisionally. We then go back and do our research with the state to determine if something was missed along the way and they should have been a registered voter. At that point in time, the Provisional Counting Board would then look at our research and make a determination as to whether or not this provisional ballot should count or not count. Also, keep in mind, if you do not have a photo ID, you have 2 days after the election to bring that back to us. So the Provisional Counting Board, they can't meet, one, until this 2-day period happens. Also, depending on the number of ballots, it could take us a while to do the research that we have to do to make sure that we count every vote that should be counted.
Okay. So, yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion to set the date and time for the Provisional Counting Board as suggested by the staff, which would be Tuesday, August 9th at 9 a.m. and for opening of the provisional bags, Friday, August 5th at 9 a.m.
Are we ready for a second? Okay, a motion and a second has been made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Item 8 on the agenda is to discuss the Council Resolution RS 2022-1475, concerning various charter amendments. I just open up the floor for any discussion on that. As a preliminary, we have received some materials from Metro Legal concerning it, and I would like to thank them for the work they've done on that. I think we've gotten, let me see, we've gotten a letter from Metro Legal concerning some time deadlines. That's a May 12th, 2022 letter, which we appreciate your work on that, Ms. Fox. And I believe we've gotten two letters, one a brief letter and a second more lengthy letter on the substance of the proposals. So thank you for that. With that, let me just open it up for any discussion points.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you're recognized, Ms. Hertzfeld.
Thank you. My understanding from Metro Legal is that we should be taking this up, these charter amendments from council, we should be taking them up today at our meeting in order to be able to meet the August ballot deadline. Is that correct?
Yes, that's our recommendation.
And does Metro Legal see any issues as to legality or form as to any of these charter amendments that have been passed by the Metro Council and through the Charter Revision Committee?
No, we do not see any illegality as to form or to facial unconstitutionality.
Okay. At this time, then, I will make a motion to place all four of these proposed charter amendments that we've received from council on the ballot for the August election.
Do you have any objection to continuing discussion?
I think we have to have a second, and then it's discussion.
I second.
Okay, all right. Now discussion. Commissioner Starling, you had the floor momentarily. Do you want to discuss anything you want to add?
Mr. Chairman, I guess, I want to know what the language will look like on the ballot itself for the voter. Is this the language itself, the entire, or is it a shorter version?
That was there is a summary, and I think we've received it, and that was a question because the summary we've received has been prepared by the Metropolitan Council and its attorneys, and there's a question whether or not Metro Legal will do a summary. So, Ms. Fox, can you address that, please?
Yes, Metro Legal does not intend to do another summary. The one that council has with its resolution is appropriate, and it's our recommendation that both the text of the amendment and the summary appear on the ballot.
Makes it a pretty big ballot then.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess, and I understand the legal side of it. I'm just concerned that, it's such a long ballot. And if everybody,
Right.
You get caught up in the legal language and.
Yes.
That's all my concern. I'm not.
There are some practical issues which I don't probably don't have anything to do with whether we vote yes or no, but it's something that we need to at least know about. Mr. Roberts, are there any issues relating to the number of signatures and the counting of the signatures, and then really anything else that would impact the staff and what we need in order to deal with these potential changes?
Sure. I think we just want to bring to everyone's attention that the draft or the proposed amendment would require our staff to certify the signatures within 30 days of receiving them from the clerk. Like Mr. Green said, we currently have 480,000 registered voters. So that's 48,000 at the 10% threshold. You're probably going to have somewhere close to 70,000 signatures to get 48,000 good signatures. Reviewing 70,000 signatures within 30 days. Let's say this happens a couple of months before a presidential election. You're asking the staff to do a lot to make that happen. We would make every effort to pull that off, but we just don't know depending on what else is happening at that period of time in our election cycles.
Okay. And then Commissioner Starling had a question about the size of the ballot and how that's going to affect training and how we educate the public on casting their vote.
Right.
If there's more than one page, for instance.
There is a potential right now that this ballot, the size of it, will cause the voter to have to put 2 ballots into the ballot marking device and 2 ballots into the scanner. That's something that neither the voter nor we have ever experienced before. It'd be our recommendation that we don't shortchange our staff any time in getting prepared to do that. You think about, we've got to make up the training. We don't have training that shows the voter how to do, or our poll officials how to do that. We have to schedule the poll officials to come in. Probably can't do this online. They'll have to come in, hands-on, do it. We are up against the wall right now of making all of that happen to be prepared for an August 4th election. Keep in mind, early voting starts July 15th. The military ballots have to go in the mail. I know it says, it looks like it'd be the 20th of June, but keep in mind, the 20th of June is a federal holiday. Post office closed. We will have to put them in the mail on Friday, the 17th. So we've lost essentially 3 days with no one's fault, but that really backs up how soon we have to have the ballot. We may have to, because normally we can print the absentee ballots on demand for each person. Because of the size of this ballot, our printing machine that does that, that's linked to our election software, can only handle a 17-inch ballot. We may have to have these printed in Alabama, and we would have to go pick them up because of the time frame to get everything lined up in time to make the deadlines that we have to meet. Everything is very compressed because of the unknowns here and how complicated this ballot's going to be.
What's the anticipated extra time a voter's going to have to do to go through all these words?
We don't know for sure. I can tell you that the last time we had a large number of amendments on the ballot, we had voters that spent 15 minutes in voting. So the potential for longer lines is there. We've already talked that we're looking to add more ballot marking devices where you actually make your choices, but not add any more of the electronic poll books where you check in, because the voters are okay waiting to check in, but they're not okay waiting to actually vote. And we don't have space in the facilities to have a large number of people waiting to vote. So we're struggling a little bit trying to figure out what's the good mix, how many at each location. And keep in mind, these are all new locations. We only have experience of one election at these locations, of how many people are going to vote, those kind of things. So we're feeling a little stressed. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I can tell you, we're a little stressed that we can make all of this happen by August 4th.
I have a question. I'm sorry, did you want to go?
Oh, you can go first.
Okay. and that is, when the voter goes to vote, is he only going to see the summary?
No, the voter will see the full text.
Okay.
And you remember, the voters struggled with
Okay.
the more button.
Okay, all right.
So they're going to have a lot of that. The ballot, the absentee ballot, will be 4 pages front and back. So we're checking with the post office to see, are we talking 1 stamp, 2 stamps? You know, everything's changed from what it was in May. And we've got to be prepared to do that. That's why, you know, our kind of drop dead date to know what's going to be on the ballot is June 1st. We've got to know by then to start pulling the trigger on, you know, making everything happen.
Okay.
So the increase in workers and budget and all the things that it would take to comply with Amendment 1 if it were to pass, those are things that we could ask the Metro Council for an additional budget or supplemental budget. We could maybe pull in some of our poll workers to try to help verify those. I mean, there are solutions, just going to cost more money.
Sure. You know, I think we have to think about the logistics of it. So if we've got, let's say we've got a big election going on. We already have poll workers in the office helping us with, let's say, absentee ballots. It's where do you put another 20 poll workers, and can Metro IT get us fairly quickly another 20 computers connected up to our network so that we can check the signatures? It can happen. We're all Metro, everybody on the A game, because we won't have any wiggle room to, well, you know, another week, don't worry about it. No, the charter says 30 days. So everyone's going to have to come together to make it happen.
Now, what efforts do we make to educate the public? I know we're going to send out a sample ballot, and the ballot will be posted on the wall as you walk in.
The ballot will be posted on the wall. Right. We'll print extra sample ballots so that they can pick one up while they're in line, be looking at it. The sample ballot right now, we think will be 20 pages long. So, and we'll mail that out to every household, but you can think, I've got to get that to the printer. It's got to get in the mail, has to be mailed by a certain date to arrive on a certain date. There's a lot of parts that have to be moving all at one time to make this happen. That's why, and we can't do any of this if we don't know what's on the ballot. Right. That's the key. The ballot, you know, as soon as, so you've certified this election, the contest period is 5 business days. So the 27th of May, we got to be ready to start rocking and rolling to pull everything off.
I've got some comments. And let me just preface them by saying that whatever this commission does is not a reflection on the merits of this. You know, our vote today doesn't approve this and is not trying to tell the public how to vote on this. We, for most purposes, are a ministerial body. I do have some concerns about the parts of these proposed charter amendments that would change how we amend the charter in the future. And those misgivings are because, on the whole, it appears that if passed, this charter amendment would practically eliminate the voter's ability to get something on the ballot. If this charter amendment were in existence, we probably wouldn't have the Community Oversight Board, which was put on the ballot. We probably wouldn't have had the Save the Fairgrounds provision that was on the ballot. We probably wouldn't have had the 1992 tax measure that passed that's in the charter. And we certainly would not even have had an issue before even this election commission about the recent tax measure that the voters tried to put on the ballot. This amendment would put significant obstacles between the people and the ballot box. It creates a seven-person committee. These appointed by the mayor. There's no checks and balances. These people are not required to even be lawyers, and yet they are given a very complex legal standard to interpret. In addition, they're required to put a financial impact statement together. I'm not sure what that means, but it requires a citizen group to put together a financial impact statement on basically what the amendment would do financially to the city. Most taxpayers, I can't think of any taxpayer that has the ability to do that. And it puts together this Charter Review Commission that evidently can vote up and down on whether or not this taxpayer group satisfies this condition. It essentially triples the number of signatures that would be required. It gives this Charter Review Commission judicial and investigatory powers. I'm not sure what they're supposed to investigate, but they have the power to call witnesses and to subpoena documents. Why it would need to subpoena somebody and to get documents when it's just supposed to review a amendment to the charter, I don't understand. But, I think there are serious problems with it. I think it's flawed. I think it's dangerous, and I think it's unworkable. But then on the other hand, that's probably not our job. I don't think this is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. This is an issue where the rights of the voters are going to be very, very strictly limited in the future if this passes. I do think that under the current law and the positions we've recently taken, that especially since we don't have much time, and certainly the deadlines are strict, we may not have any choice but to put it on the ballot. On the good side, the voters are going to get a chance to vote on this. And we hope that the people that report about this report about it in a fair way. This is not a partisan issue. This is not an issue about me personally. This is not an issue about this commission. This is an issue that has to do with whether or not the voters are going to have fair access to the ballot in the future. So, with that, those are my comments, and I just open up the floor to any further comments, and then I think we'll consider the motion.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
I'd like to echo some of those comments. Like I said, as I've read through what was sent to us from Metro Legal, as well as in reading through those documents, I agree. With your statement. We may have to do this, but in reading it from my perspective, I'm not a lawyer, and we have well-respected lawyers here, on the commission who are well-read, well-tried in what they do. What it seems to me as a lay person is that the language as it reads, and I'm just, like I said, this is where you air it out. The language as it reads seems that the Charter Revision Commission, in some ways are superseding the Election Commission's power and scope in regards to elections and referendum, looking towards like 19.04. And my concern would be from one perspective, and if I'm misreading it, please show me. I admit to my lateness to this. That would be a very concerning thought process, because now does that get into not only charter issues, but also, state election law issues on another angle. And that was something that, as I was reading through it, these provisions, does that entangle as I was reading through, the Metro Code as well as, state law. That was something that kept overhanging my thoughts as I read this and comparing notes and even reading through it again. And at least I wanted to put that objection out there verbally in front of everyone. And I know that may just be something that the voter has to decide, and that, we may not have that purview. But I think that's a dangerous precedent that's set, because if nothing else, if we're talking about making sure we maintain fair and open elections, that may eventually come down the pike to preventing those.
With that, are we ready to call a vote?
Yeah, if I could just make one comment. I just feel like I have to say before we take the vote that I actually think that given the comments that the chair has just made about this being a dangerous referendum and the political nature of many of the comments that you just made, questioning the legitimacy, not as Commissioner Davis did, which was the mechanics, but questioning the substance and warning of its dangerousness. I think the chair should probably not vote on putting this on or off. I think you should abstain, but I will leave that to you. I just wanted to register my objection.
All right, are we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. For the record, we've got voting affirmative, Commissioners Starling, Hertzfeld, Delannis, Davis, and Evans. We are now to the Aoe. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, could we revisit the times for Monday? I just happened to look at my schedule. And actually, if we could change that to 9 o'clock, if that's a proper motion.
Correct. For item number 5, locking the bags.
Yes,
number
for the 23rd.
What about Friday, the 27th?
Yeah, Friday.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that,
Friday morning?
yeah,
Yeah, Friday morning.
I'm open all day Friday, right?
Yeah.
So you.
I mean, I can make it at 9 on Monday. It's just, I have
Then I get tight with, what did it take us, about an hour and a half, hour last time? Let's do it Friday.
that's fine.
I'll feel safer Friday, because it's really pushing another appointment I got that I can't move.
Sure, Friday morning at 8.
Yeah, Friday.
8.
Yeah, do we need to redo a motion?
We probably do need to do a motion.
I'll make the motion Friday morning, the 27th at 8 for locking of the provisional ballot security bags and boxes, and also the absentee ballot security bags and bins.
All in favor, say aye.
Need a second?
Oops, sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries.
I forgot about
All right, we'll go to the Aoe report.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. Just wanted to bring you up to speed. In addition to all of the items that I mentioned that we have to get moving for the August 4th election, I'll remind you that we just sent out somewhere in the neighborhood of 450,000 voter registration cards. We've had about 30,000 of those come back to us as undeliverable.
Man.
So per the state process to maintain a clean voter rolls, we have to go in, touch each one of those, and essentially make that person inactive. That doesn't mean they can't vote. That just means we've got something that says your address doesn't jive right now. we will then follow up, send them another notice that's forwardable. The voter registration card is not forwardable. We send them a notice that's forwardable, telling them how to update their address. And that starts the process then for giving them, I want to say it's 2 November elections that before we would actually remove them from the rolls, hoping that they will come in. If they come in, let's say they come in August and vote, that removes them and we get them clean again. So it's a process that we have to go through, and redistricting just made it a lot bigger, and we need to get them. The staff will be busy. We will be bringing in extra people to help us because you can imagine touching 30,000 is a large number. That's pretty much it.
Can I ask a question about that? The large number that were they returned because we had the wrong address, or there was a mistype or a misprint, or all those people were no longer at their address?
Combination of all of those kind of things. Could be something as simple as you didn't give us your apartment number. Or this person hasn't lived here in 5 years and they haven't registered to vote in any surrounding county or a county in Tennessee. Maybe they moved to overseas and, we just don't know that they don't live here. But this told us that they don't.
Do we make an effort, if it's something like we don't have your apartment number, to look at maybe the DMV database or kind of other things to see if we have that and we can fill it in, or are we not permitted to do that?
Well, really, the voter has to take that initiative to tell us that, okay, the confirmation notice that we will send out will be something simple. You can go online and change it. You can mail it to us, all those kind of things. And before the confirmation notice goes out, we'll be getting with the press to say, hey, if you get one of these, or if you didn't get a new voter registration card, reach out to us. We can help you get that address fixed.
And when we send that confirmation card, are we sending that to the same address that we just got the card rejected from?
We are, except that it's forwardable.
I see.
So that's the only difference.
And could you just, for the benefit of the public and others, explain what was a little bit different about our voter registration cards? I know a lot of people didn't recognize what came in the mail as their voter registration card.
Right. So a couple of things happened. One, we were up against the wall to actually get the voter registration cards printed because we had a couple of lawsuits. One big one being we didn't know what the lines would be. We had to wait until that was resolved before we could send the voter registration cards. Two, we wanted to change the color just so that we would know this is the most recent voter registration card. Now, we didn't know until we started looking into this that, well, you can't get colored paper, 450,000 pages of it, even if you wanted to. We had a hard time getting white paper. We are concerned to some degree of getting paper to do the upcoming elections. I was just reading a note from the administrators of elections, an article that the state of Louisiana had trouble, said they had to check with every printer in North America to find paper for their ballot. So we're not out of the woods yet. We're hoping that our vendor in Alabama has in stock maybe the ballot stock that we will need.
And that supply chain issues because of the pandemic.
Correct.
Thank you for that update.
For the people that did not receive that card but did vote in this last election, that could be sitting over there that voted earlier, how can you match that up?
So let's say if their card came back to us, but they voted, we already have their address fixed, most likely. We fixed it then. If they voted and they didn't get a card, all they have to do is contact us and they will get a card. Or they can go online and just fill the information out again, that automatically generates another card. You know, a lot of people didn't recognize the card, plain white paper. I get that, and they tossed it away. So just contact us if you need a card.
Okay, and I do know that happened.
Right.
A lot of people thought it was a sample ballot.
Sure,
And
right.
just like, I knew who I'm voting for, and boom, in the
Yeah,
trash.
keep in mind, you do not need your voter registration card to vote. You only need that photo ID.
Anything further about the AOE report?
No, sir, that's all.
All right, okay. Is there anything further from any of the commissioners before we go to public comment? No, okay. Ms. Harrison, are you in charge of the public comment sheet? Okay. Ms. Williams, come forward, thank you.
Am I on? Great. Okay, hi, Nicole Williams. Y'all have heard from me before. I'm really relieved that you decided to follow the law and put the proposed charter amendments on the ballot. It's unfortunate because I don't feel like I should have to feel relieved, because I shouldn't be afraid coming into this that you all are going to do what the law says you have to do. So I'm glad, but also a little sad that I have to feel relieved. Also, I just agree with Commissioner Hertzfeld. I find it incredibly inappropriate for any commission member to be speaking so forcefully about their opinion about a charter amendment. If you live here, you can vote yes or no. That's what the whole process of voting is for. And I don't think it's appropriate to use your platform as a member of the Election Commission to essentially send a message, I guess, that you're doing this under duress. So I just would really, really encourage you all to think about the things that you say, the way that you say those things, and how those things might be interpreted. And to remember that, like, your ability to function as a body rests on our ability to trust that you are doing your job in a way that is, like, straightforward and not biased. So, again, thank you for following the law. I hope all of you go out and vote your conscience on these charter amendments, and I look forward to the August election.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have a question for you. On item number 8, the amendments that you voted on and approved to go onto the ballot, what amendments did you put on? Specifically, amendment number 1, which was it? What does it say?
Well, go ahead, Ms. Hertzfeld. It was your motion, so.
I know, and I
you-
don't want to be a stickler. We typically try not to answer questions during public comment.
Right, we don't usually, but.
But we know you, Mr. Garrett, and it's a fair question because I think
If I may, Trish, I'd hate to interrupt, but if I may, when I went online to the council, I read their thing, and there was amendment 1, 2, 3, and 4,
Right.
and then there was the substitute amendment. Was it the substitute amendment that you approved all 4 of, or was it the original 1, 2, 3, or 4?
So my understanding is it was a substitute resolution that came through Metro Council, and it's amendments 1 through 4 that have been forwarded to us is what were contained within the motion.
Correct. I think that's right. We are sent a set of proposals by the Metro clerk, and it was the substitute resolution that we received.
That's
And
correct.
we have copies here if you'd like a copy. And so the record will be clear also, it is the substitute resolution that we acted upon today, which included all 4 proposals.
And, you raise a good point, Mr. Garrett. We probably should just take that information that was provided to us from the clerk and just attach it to our minutes so that there's no confusion. I appreciate you pointing that out.
Well, I have a copy of that substitution resolution, and I brought it with me, there were differences between the originals, the originals and the substitution, which is why I asked what we approved today. I thank you, ladies, and gentlemen. I thank you very much for your service here. I do appreciate everything that you do. You know that, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have a question from a commissioner.
Just out of point of order, to make sure that the public feels good about this, do we need to revote that so that they are clear that it was that, or are we good legally? Question.
I don't think we need to revote it. I think my motion was pretty clear.
I think we're okay.
Clear on the agenda, and my motion was, I think, very clear.
That's why I said that. Well, I'm just checking the box.
I think the motion dealt with Council Resolution RS 2022-1475, which I believe is the correct proposal. All right. We have come to item 11. So we can either set the date and time for the next meeting, or we can adjourn. Mr. Roberts, is there, based on the schedule we have, is there a meeting date that we need to address in order to go forward with what we need to do for the next election?
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend it be at the call of the chairman so that we can try to look at the schedule and then find a day when we can come back to this room, since that seems to be the preferred location.
That works for me.
Okay. Is there anything else from any of the other commissioners? All right. The chair will then will consider a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, it's always my motion. Motion to adjourn. I was just putting it on my
All right.
calendar.
And do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you for the prompting on that.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.